It's a pretty good group project, eh?
Yeah. I love eating.
Me too. Hey, it's Kate, and as you can tell by that first clip, me and my project partner, Ilya, we're so excited to share this podcast with you. I have to be honest, the idea for this project originated from my desire to just try Ethiopian food for the first time. And eventually this became a podcast about community making, how Little Ethiopia was established on the Danforth, and even the influence of Italian colonialism on current day Ethiopian cuisine. So without further ado, this is Ilya and I's interview with Rendezvous owner Banshee Kind.
My name is Banshee. I'm the owner at Rendezvous Ethiopian and Eritrean restaurant in Danforth. I'm about to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Rendezvous. Growing up following my mother's footsteps, and I learned a lot of cooking recipes and authentic Ethiopian cooking style from my mother. And then since I was a child, I've been cooking in the kitchen, helping my mom. And I came from a very big family, so we have a lot of food to cook around the house. So, cooking became a part of me and a passion at the same time. I came to America. I was second year college student, and I applied for a better university and a better education, and I got accepted in Washington, D.C. And then I went to D.C. for school. So after going a year and a half, there was a family problem. I was obligated to drop out and start working. So the first job I chose was restaurant. I just wanted to work in the restaurant business. I applied. I got a job right away. I started as a server, as a waitress, and then later on I became a cocktail server in a fine dining restaurant, and I got in a big hotel restaurants, like fine dining restaurants, Hilton Hotel, Sheraton Hotel, Ritz-Carlton. I worked in those areas. Canada, I started looking the money that I saved in America when I come here, helped me to open my little business, and then I took Rendezvous, this spot, and I started my own business. Ethiopia is always close to my heart. The food, the cooking is like something I wanted to promote. I wanted to make a living out of it. I wanted to do something I like. So that is something I like. I wanted to do it, and I just decided, and I put my money all together, and I opened Rendezvous. My expectation was everybody to come and enjoy, explore, to meet Ethiopia halfway. Like they will see me, they will see my coworkers, they eat the food, and they hear us talking. Sometimes we play our native Ethiopian music. So I kind of become the ambassador of Ethiopia in a way, and introducing the culture, the food, and the people. So, and the fact that Toronto is a multicultural city, it gives me a big opportunity to people wanting to explore culture. Like whenever they want to go to Greek town, there's a Greek town. There's Chinese, there's Korean, there is Italian, there's Portuguese. So I said, why don't we make Little Ethiopia here? And then once Rendezvous opened, I was encouraging other business owners to come in this area and to open their own business. And look at now, Rendezvous become the reason behind all these Ethiopian restaurants and convenience stores and variety stores and stuff like that, because I really want people to come open their business in this area. So in the future, looking forward, we wanted to make Little Ethiopia in this corner. The fact that Toronto gives that opportunity for every ethnic group, so why not we have our own? And we're working on it now. If you go to on the subway station, Greenwood and Coxwell, you will see us big poster.
He just took a picture and showed me.
So that way and this way, when you go back, check it out. You will see while we're eating the food, the other side while we're making the coffee ceremony. So it's really a good
pictures
venue.
from here. Oh, that's so cool.
Navigan, there is another Ethiopian Eritrean restaurant that I opened.
So, like you said, you were one of the first, the first
Yes.
entrepreneur to open an Ethiopian restaurant here on the Danforth. Why here? You said a little bit because of like the multiculturalness of Toronto, but like why particularly the Danforth? Were there any barriers to entry kind of coming to the Danforth? And can you give us like a short history of like how that kind of came about for you?
Yeah.
I mean, I know working in a corporate and a familial setting, but specifically here?
Most Ethiopian restaurants were on the west, Ossington and Bloor area. So when I come to Canada, my first job, that a family-owned job that I find was on Bloor West. So I see so many Ethiopian restaurants around there, but the property was kind of a bit expensive in that area. This area was much affordable. Plus, it is like there are so many restaurants on that side, and I said, why don't I be on the other side and do something what I like? And I come the rent and this place I find was pre-owned by Ethiopian before, so that makes it the oldest rendezvous because it was pre-owned by Ethiopian, and I took over from them. So I said, rent is affordable. The price for a business that they sold it was affordable. I can afford it, and plus there is a lot of culture in this area. Greek town was close by, and there is a festival every year, Greek Fest. So I see the business flourishing from all that. Rendezvous, I give the name Rendezvous. It's mine. But before that, it has another name. It was Titi Bar or something like that. It was not a food. There was no food. It was just the woman owned it, or the guy, whatever, was Ethiopian, but they don't have that food.
So we're actually younger than Rendezvous,
Which
is like crazy to think.
Oh my god!
But how kind of has the area, like the Danforth, the neighborhood, the community, but especially like the businesses you're surrounded by, how has that changed since you got established? Like what's the difference, I guess, from 2001? Is that when you started?
Well, 2001, when I come in this area, property was very cheap. Street is getting busier. Lots of people are coming. You see, I barely see Ethiopian walking on the street. Now there is so many Ethiopian walking on the street because we see so many newcomers from another country, Indian, Bangladesh, Ukrainian. So many newcomers to the neighborhood, and
Here, so I mean,
where
I
you
love
live?
the Danforth. I live at
so
Yeah.
you the pro.
I love
But
this
the
area.
thing is, like you said, you are younger than Rendezvous, but the very satisfaction. What makes me so happy is seeing a young generation like you, especially they used to come kids with their parents, and then I used to babysit them while the family eats. I don't want them to be like interrupted, or I want to give them a break. And those kids like you guys grow up and they come back and the generation is taking over.
Right.
And that's a big satisfaction.
Moving on to more of the food side of it.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, what is the difference between Ethiopian and Eritrean cuisine, and how much do they overlap? And does the menu that you serve, like, do you have like kind of identifiable Eritrean versus Ethiopian foods? Like, which items could you name that are which? Yeah, how would you kind of explain that to someone who might not know?
Well, Eritrea, before it became independent, used to be a part of Ethiopia. Saying that, we have pretty much the same culture, the same food, but the only difference we have is the language. The language Ethiopians speak, maybe Ethiopian national language is Amharic, and the Eritrean national language is Tigrinya. So rather than that, the cooking part is pretty much the same. But Ethiopian have more of a cooking, more variety of cooking. For example, the kitfo, the beef tartare, is not accustomed by Eritreans. They don't eat the raw meats that much like the Ethiopian do.
Okay.
But Ethiopian, they eat the raw meat, they cure it and eat it in different way. For example, here, this is a beef tartare.
Yes.
And it's spiced and it's cured. and it's eaten in Ethiopia, in more part of Ethiopia, whereas Eritreans they don't have that much. They don't eat it. The rest is like dorowat, which is the chicken stew, and lamb stew, and tips, and vegetable like chickpeas and lentils, cabbage, and colored green split lentils. All that is a common food that we share among Ethiopia and Eritrea,
That's very cool.
especially when it comes to the vegan portion. The vegan portion part of Ethiopia and Eritrea, pretty much the same cooking, because we share the fact that Orthodox religion followers, Ethiopian, Eritrean, they fast most of their lives, like out of 360, they maybe 200 something days is fasting days. So that makes them share the same kind of cooking, the same kind of recipes, the same kind of food.
So you'd have to have like high protein foods that could like,
For example, here on your plate, if you eat lentils, that's high protein. The chickpea is high protein. Whole lentil, this is lentil with the skin, that's high, rich in protein. And your spinach is full of iron. And you don't need eating Ethiopian vegan food. You don't need to eat any meat. It gives you a balanced food. And the way it is cooked is very healthy. No deep frying. Everything is caramelized, and it's like stewed. So that gives it a healthy style of cooking. So which is lots of people are into that nowadays. They're becoming a trend now. Ethiopian food become a trend because people before they don't know what it is. Now they start being aware what kind of food it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we also, when we were researching Ethiopian food, we came across a lot of Italian influence on Eritrean and Ethiopian foods. We even found a lot of restaurants would serve like identifiably Italian food, like spaghetti.
Yeah.
And obviously this is influenced by the occupation of Ethiopia and the colonization of Eritrea. What's your take on Ethiopian and Eritrean restaurants serving traditionally like Italian foods?
Italy was trying to colonize East Africa.
Yes.
So the Italian came to Ethiopia and was not successful.
Yeah.
They didn't succeed. So they tried again on the north part of Ethiopia, which is now Eritrea. So they managed to conquer Eritrea. They take the capital city of Ethiopia for still, and they trying to colonize, but was not successful. But during that time, they left their footprint, the cooking style, the cafes. Still nowadays, I mean that happened long ago, but it's still that happened 79 years ago. But still now, if you go to Addis, you will see the Italian influence in baking, especially baked in Ethiopia and Addis Ababa is pretty much the same as the Italian, because the same recipe is continued by the Ethiopian. Whereas if you go to Eritrea is more. Italy was more in Eritrea for a while because they get a chance to colonize that area. So they left a big footprint. So still you can see even here at Rendezvous we serve pasta. Yeah, and me personally, I love to cook lasagna. I love to cook pasta. Like we eat that at home at least once or twice a week. There will be a pasta dinner or something like that. So the influence, the cooking part, the cultural influence is still there.
That your restaurant, like outside of food, like represents a community space for people, and like how kind of do you think that happens? Because I mean, I feel like I go to a lot of restaurants and you don't necessarily always get the community vibe. So what do you think Rendezvous is doing that adds that?
Here is like more of a community vibe, and it's like people once they come, they keep coming, and then it's kind of homecoming. And I think behind all this is our there are so many beautiful restaurants downtown or anywhere else, but what makes us unique and beautiful is not that our decor or our ambience, whatever. It is the spirit in the house. We have this welcoming spirit, a family kind of connection with our customers, and then we take our cooking very seriously, and we make sure the food is right. So we kind of built a community, and people wanted to come back.
That's really awesome. So you've spoken a lot to how you've built community here, basically from the ground up, and we know that your coffee ceremony is like in association with Moher Coffee, and they have so many collaborations that I can see on your menu.
Yeah.
But is there any particular moment where you feel like that you could speak to that really made you feel the community that you've built, like for yourself, like how you felt supported through this community?
Oh yeah, actually, without your community support, there's no success, because those are your people who knows your food, your culture, and those are the one who wanted to come because they know the food that's native to them.
Mm-hmm. And so, what have been your biggest challenges in running a business in the area? And are you a member of like the DBIA or any other like community groups?
Yeah, I'm a board member for the past 16 years, going to 17 years actually. Since then, yeah. I've been a board member, and we're trying to beautify the neighborhood. They're very supportive. The BIA help lots of business owners.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And recently, for this Warmth of Ethiopia, there was a movement that we did with the BIA, and that's the reason why we have the sign at the subway station and promoting Little Ethiopia too. So the BIA is one of the support that we have in this community, in this village.
That's lovely. That's awesome. And so this is my last question.
Okay.
So how has Rendezvous's identity evolved over the course of its existence? And what is your hope for the future?
My hope for the future is you guys. I wanted to make like Toronto, as I said, is a very multicultural city. You gotta be you. You have to be yourself, because everybody has something to offer. Many people don't even know that Ethiopia has this kind of rich cuisine, and they only see the television part of Ethiopia, which is many years ago there was a part of Ethiopia was starved, and there was starvation in Ethiopia, and then there was a movement to help that. So people always think there is no food in Ethiopia, but Ethiopia is a very rich country in terms of culture. Mm-hmm. So much to learn from that land. Most people, they don't know that richness, the culture, the historical part of Ethiopia, and when they come and see this, they will be like, wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So that was all of our questions. Okay. If you have anything else you want to say, feel free to do that.
I'm so happy that you came to ask me about Rendezvous and the culture of Ethiopia, and especially as a young lady and a young man like you. It's so nice. It's heartwarming, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I wish you good luck in your school.
Thank you. We so appreciate you making time for us. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Okay, enjoy your dinner.
We totally will. Absolutely. Fresh off our interview with Banshee and hungry and ready to eat the food that had been placed in front of us during the interview, Ilya and I got into the course concepts. I have to be honest, I'm the newest podcaster in the game, so some of the following might be a little bit choppy, but enjoy this conversation.
Also, though, so another point that it came out, and that she mentioned as well, both from the book is Gastrofascism and Empire, Food in Italian East Africa. Even if there was this, even if like this whole war effort was mainly about food waste, because again, they were looking to achieve autarky and of course build empire, whatever. Locally there was resistance, so there hasn't been a lot of blending of foods, as in
right.
She like like as you said before, there are some today, for example, there are some restaurants that serve something, and if that's what she confirmed, a hybrid cuisine coming out, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I get two
you're
things.
not eating like I don't know, like chicken parm on injera. Like she talked about adding maybe a couple spices, but you're not actually fundamentally changing any
exactly.
recipes.
And that's the same thing that I was reading about, how national food became kind of a resistance image from the colonizer, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think makes people stay here? Yeah, like what makes a place a place?
What makes a place a place? I think food is like a caretaking thing. You know, she talked about like it became a thing for her because of a big family. Like lots of food for that.
Yep.
And I think like if she's kind of able to offer that hospitality to people the same way as that you would almost familiarly, even if there's a cost associated, I think that's what makes the community is the positive attitude combined with this like inherently quite hospitable part of life is like eating, right? In a world where it's like doom scrolling Instagram like in your bed and takeout, there's also this. I think that's kind of what we're feeling about her. Like there's an indescribable feeling about a restaurant owner in Toronto being one email away from us.
That was crazy.
Just sitting with us and like telling us her life story, telling about everything that kind of makes her and her passions and whatever. Like there's something so special about that.
I would say I tend to agree with that. Like it does resonate. It's compelling. Maybe one interesting thing that comes to mind about that. Remember we watched a video about markets in Toronto?
Yep.
Critique that came to mind while watching that was how in that case a barrier to entry, if that makes sense, was purchasing something. As in when I personally don't always feel that markets, at least in Toronto, have been way of making place, at least for me, or a community, just because it always felt like
transactional.
Yep, or like mediated by money, if that makes sense. Which is something I don't necessarily feel maybe felt in other countries or like in Italy, because that's where I was raised.
Yep.
So I wasn't sure about the potential of making place when there's a transaction involved. It was kind of something in the back of my mind, or kind of a critique to that was still in the back of my mind today.
I thought of that as well. Yeah.
And I find I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Like
there's a barrier to entry.
Yeah.
But I think it's not so significant that a community can't come out of it.
Yeah, I think this is a great example, or like counter example to my critique or to what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think just a part that she's the main person in the kitchen. It feels like, because it feels like we were actually stealing her time from the kitchen at some point, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's unrelated, but for example, a lot of people ask me, like, what's your favorite Italian restaurant in Toronto or something like that. I tried some. I've never been enjoying one to the point I feel like recommending it.
Right.
Because it never feels like home, or like, not home, but comfort food maybe.
Yeah.
It always feels like this really high tier experience, like elitist maybe.
So kind of building on what we were talking about, like about how is community built and whatever. Do you think that if you were to go to an Italian restaurant and you sit down and an Italian man greets you, or someone with an Italian accent greets you, and the restaurant's like kind of middle ground in terms of like pricing and whatever, and you're served the food and it's average, like just average, but the owner comes and introduces himself, the music playing is something that you might have heard when you were a kid, a bunch of other people who know the owner are in the restaurant, whether they're Italian or not. Like, don't you think you'd probably recommend that restaurant?
100%.
That's so interesting. And I'm not saying this food is mid, I'm not saying, but I do think the recommendation part, the like wanting to go back part, might not have that much to do with the food.
Great point. I feel like that's how that's something I would feel like recommending. Like I will 100% save this place in my Google Maps and be back.
Absolutely. I'm in my head. I'm figuring out what my friends and I are
Where
doing
we
a coffee
headed
ceremony.
next, right?
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
For fear of accidentally wrapping up this interview with something, well, simple, here's a final thought, a passing thought that Ilya gave out during the interview that I feel encompasses what we've been trying to say. So, thanks for listening, and I'll leave you with this.
I guess that the part, like the act of eating a meal, is very much about who you are eating a meal with.
Yeah.
Rather than sometimes the food itself. So maybe it speaks more about food as a whole and how even if it's eaten by money or like even if blah blah blah, food still works as a great. It's not just food. Food is not just food.
Yeah, no, the food's not about the food.